Welcome to Indie Tea Demos to Discovery with your host, me, Peter Lancelotti. And today's guest from England is John from Whiskey Club. John is one of the first people to help me navigate the world of indie musicians.
London? What is it? It's evening there. It's just morning here for me. I'm just trying to hopefully look presentable enough to show my face to the world. You wanted to start at 9. Nobody starts anything in Los Angeles at 9, except a shower.
A very dear friend of mine, Doug, who you'd know as Bellevue Zoo, saying to me, why don't you just write a song? So I wrote a song, didn't know that I could.
I was under the impression that you were a classically trained musician because some of the stuff that you do, it's just like phenomenal. I mean, I've heard some of the collaborations you've done with Christy Afira, which I've also done recently. And some of the stuff that you guys do together, I've just blown away. I go, ooh, God, I thought.
Thank you. No, I've never had any training. I've had singing lessons now for about a year and a half because that's my weak point. And that's where I've been doing most of the work. But everything else, I play guitar and piano my own way. And the beauty of being a recording artist rather than a performer is that nobody hears the ones that you fucked up. Yeah,
well, that's true. That's true. I haven't performed in years, so I kind of like the whole remote idea of, sending each other stems and then using, different DAWs. I never thought music would be like this because, I mean, I recorded back in the day with 24 and 16 track, 2-inch tape. There was no such thing as, time stretching and tempo changing and, all this stuff that you can do now.
I've been amazed. The first collab that I did was with Adam from Stolen from the Sky, was Head Full of Demons. And I didn't know what to do. So I sent him wave files of piano and he came back with drums and guitars, and they were brilliant, but everything slotted together so neatly. And it's as simple as if you send the full stem of every track, in other words, start it at 0 seconds, provide the tempo markings, it's accurate to, tiny fractions of a second. So you can have any number of people collaborating and they'll sound perfectly in sync, and it's effortless.
And the brilliant thing is we're no longer, limited by 24 tracks.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm a simple guy, and I'm a 8-track kind of. I know Logic Pro can handle much more, although I work on my iPad, so you hit processor limitations if you go bananas. But my style of music is quite simple. I like a transparent mix. The only time I tried to get fancy was with Bunch of Cells, but if you look at Clarifications or something like that, there's no more than 10 tracks in it.
Well, I know I use a Studio One Pro 7 and it's got an unlimited amount of tracks. I mean, if you wanted to add 60 to 100 tracks, you could. Under the tutelage of Aaron Leet of the Dashing Skull Club, he's been teaching me all there is to know about the DAWs. He's
very, very good. Very good.
Oh, I think I told you he's going to be mixing some of my vocal stuff. I'm okay with mixing some of my instrumental, but when it comes to vocals, I just can't get the EQ right. I just can't too much reverb. But I'm not an engineer. I used to have people do that stuff for me back in the day. So
I have a magic weapon, and it's my wife. And if it ain't right, I don't get to send it. So I get sent back to, and she's able to tell me. She's not a musician, but she's able to tell me that noise there. What do you mean that noise? That's a hi-hat. Well, it sounds shit. So, get rid of that noise. So yeah, nothing. I'm not allowed to send anything that doesn't pass the Whiskers test.
So, well, I know myself. I use DistroKid, and a couple of my last instrumental pieces. I thought I did okay on one of them, most recent, Flight of a Galaxy, but there was one I did before that, Aztec in the Meadow. It was a slower, almost classical piece. It's a remastering from a cassette that I did years ago.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
How did you you must have used some kind of filter to get rid of,
yes,
to lower the noise floor or increase the noise floor, whichever way it is, because there's no noise on that track.
Thank you. Well, actually, I thought there was the Flight of a Galaxy. That one I did really well on. That's also a remaster. But the Aztec in the Meadow, I couldn't get the hiss quite out at the beginning. I forgot to add noise reduction. It's like it's acceptable by the distributor, whether you use I use DistroKid.
There are other ways of getting rid of noise. If I look at clarifications, which was you may have heard it. It's like the kind
that's one of my favorites by you. I've always got that one in a playlist.
Oh well, thank you. I mean, that I wrote. We were staying overnight in a hotel that was in the middle of nowhere. We were only there because we wanted to use the restaurant, and I was killing time. So I composed that on my iPhone while we were in the hotel, and laid down all of the string tracks and that kind of stuff, and left space for piano. And when I got home the next day, I just put the iPhone behind me on the settee and improvised all the piano pieces. It was supposed to be just a test, but I actually liked what I'd done, so I decided that's it. I'm keeping the improvised piano, but it was horribly noisy. You could hear clicking, and I don't mind hearing the pedal noises, but you could hear my breathing noises. So I tried everything to filter my breathing noises out on the piano. And at the last moment, when I was going through the Denise test, she said, no, that section, the second half of the quiet piano, the breathing noise is too much. So I wrote a cello solo to sit on top and made sure that it had kind of reverse notched itself into the breathing. So you don't hear the breathing, you hear the cello solo.
So you've got a built-in engineer with Denise.
Yeah.
Right there. Right.
Yeah. My hearing is, I use very bright headphones for mixing. I've noticed a lot of people my age produce overly bright mixes. When the high end of your range goes a little bit, you brighten to compensate. So I use very, very bright headphones. Denise is a few years younger than me, and she hasn't lost any of her high frequency response. So if there's any sibilance that's unpleasant, or if I capture my breathing too much with the microphone, she'll tell me about it, and I won't hear it. But
you'll be able to criticize me very shortly when I'm about to come out with an 18-track a cappella song. It's a Kyrie eleison, Gregorian chant, public domain.
Oh, wonderful! Because you sing well. Your voice is lovely.
Thank you.
So an a cappella track.
I actually used to have a 5-octave vocal range, and people used to say 5 octaves. It's like, well, that was then. Now I've got about maybe 3.5, 4 if I'm lucky, and they go at 63.
Your vocal on that Mariah of the First Ray. Is that your vocal
with all the high voices?
It's really good. It's a beautiful voice.
Thank you very much. And so is the Sweet Transvestite, which I know is like completely in another direction, which I did with Elvira. A little secret behind that song. She said I sounded like Tim Curry's cousin. I did that in a band 30 years ago, so I had a little practice.
Wow. So you got some serious talent. I know you're supposed to be asking me questions, but have you thought of promoting more aggressively?
That's what I'm doing now. I just started a Patreon, starting to organize my marketing strategy a little better. For a while, as you well know, I was doing a lot of promoting of my books, sci-fi and stuff like that. By the way, I want to talk about one of the books that you said everyone should read. This is going to really, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I'm definitely planning on a more aggressive marketing strategy for music. I'm trying to get back into ACX reading, which are books for other authors. One of the books that you said, see if I can find it here, that you said everyone should read was, tell me, the name Sisyphus was in it.
I mentioned 2 books. One is The Fountainhead, which I have read, and of course it's brilliant. You would know that. The Myth of Sisyphus, there was a little joke in there, because I said it's one of my favorite books, and in fact I wrote a song inspired by The Myth of Sisyphus, and Bunch of Cells is completely inspired by Albert Camus and The Myth of Sisyphus. But then I added in that interview, of course, I've never actually read it. How absurd is that? Now, of course, that is the book where Albert Camus first outlined his philosophy of absurdism. Hence, there's a little joke. But you think it's one of those books I've never read, but I've read so many people and talking about the book.
Well, here's some serendipity for you. When I was 17, I was in my very first rock band. The name of the band was Sisyphus, and the guy with the kick drum had very risque for 1978. he had a naked man from the back pushing a boulder up a hill. Thought that's the name of our band. And now a lot of people at the time, they knew I was gay, and nobody else in the band was gay. But I think because of the name Sisyphus, Sissy back in the 70s,
Oh
that's sort of a
no.
thing, and I thought, all right, you want to call it Sisyphus? I don't care. I was the lead singer, I was the lead keyboard, the lead guitarist. I was 17. The bass guitarist was 22. He looked 12. The rhythm guitarist was 37, and the drummer was 46. That is how diverse we were. I've got pictures of us when we were playing, raising money for an army unit back where I'm from in New England. I'm originally from New England. It just blew me away when I saw, the myth of Sisyphus. I said, oh, first band I was ever in, Sisyphus.
I know. I should read the book, really. I don't think I'll find anything new from it. I like Camus. We read The Plague, but I think I've extracted from everyone else's analysis. If you pick up books like The History of Western Philosophy and so on, what's at the core of it, and comparing Western philosophers, Camus is the one that appeals instinctively more to me, which is dangerous, reading what appeals to you instinctively, but that's where it is.
Well, you and I have had a few conversations about things that we've read, like theosophical literature and Aleister Crowley kind of literature.
Mm-hmm.
One of my other guests, his name is Anil Matai, he's from India, and we've had similar conversations. He and I met on LinkedIn, and his dialogue, his conversations are usually fascinating. He's got like over 10,000 followers, so obviously I'm one of his followers. But he'll bring up things on reincarnation, karma, all kinds of metaphysical subjects. And I think during the interview, I asked him, I said, do you think we have people thoroughly confused on LinkedIn since it's such a professional, platform, unlike Facebook, where you can be a little bit silly and, a little more playful. LinkedIn, boy, I'll tell you, they got about as much of a sense of humor as an anteater.
Yeah, tell me about it. When I got in touch with a friend through LinkedIn, he said, I knew it was you because you'd replaced your profile picture with a picture of Baphomet.
With Baphomet?
Yeah. So that
with
that
the goat horns, goat horns.
Yeah, that had to be you. I had as a child, that was my bedside ornament, a kind of lead cast of Baphomet.
So did you just turn 62? When's your birthday?
Yeah, in March.
Oh, so, Pisces, Aries.
Yeah,
Aries. Okay. Best bits of advice for musicians who are, indie artists starting out there.
One of them I got wrong, actually. I said, don't release music in Q4. And of course, what I meant to say was don't release music in November or December.
Okay, because I was going to say I'm releasing. I'm doing a rebranding. Remember, I did that sort of without the mechanical license of The Witch's Road.
Mm.
I'm redoing that professionally, and I'm like, well, wait, that's Halloween. That's Q4. I am releasing it then. Bad idea.
I would say your ideal release time would be about October 1.
That's all right. Well, I'm almost finished recording it.
Because you anticipate Halloween. The Spotify streams stack very much towards Christmas songs as soon as Halloween is over.
I was having a conversation with someone else, and tell me if you agree with this. When there are artists such as yourself or me, that we're hard to categorize because, we do jazz, we do rock, we do classical, we do a variety of different things. What would you say is probably the best way to market that kind of thing? Would it be finding other artists like that and putting them in playlists where people who are looking for, say, classical or jazz or rock would find them?
I've increasingly learned to trust the algorithm. I advertise on Instagram, and I followed somebody's advice to use a reverse funnel kind of technique. So that I start an advert running, and you should leave them running forever. Low budget adverts, you'd never stop them, because your pixel and your cappies will not be learning if you stop the ads. So I run very low budget ads, and when you start a campaign, expect no results for the first month. Be very, very specific. I'm this genre. I want this age group. I want people, and only people who are interested in Spotify, and people who like this kind of music. And if they let you, people who like this kind of artist. And don't include Brazil and Mexico, and do only tier 1, tier 2, all that kind of stuff. When it's been running for a little bit and getting engagement, start stripping back the restrictions. until, so maybe take away the some of the artist targeting, and then take away the Spotify targeting. And then finally, you can add Mexico and Brazil back in when you know that Meta's not going to spend all your money there, until eventually you have a campaign that basically says, you find the people who like my music. And the algorithm is so much better at that than you will ever be, because the ad is targeted and optimized on people who actually went through to your music on Spotify. And that's a very different set of people who just click on adverts. And Facebook knows who clicked through. And then they say, who was that? Well, this is a 43-year-old Brazilian waitress who likes jiu-jitsu. Let's find some more of those. It's so much better than you are.
Well, I do know that the algorithms really do seem to enjoy consistency, because I think I mentioned in the promo for the podcast, I think a lot of problems that us indie artists have is that we go into the studio, we do 2, 3, 4 weeks of music writing, or in your case, you're doing a lot of reviewing right now. I did read your articles last night, very, very good. But then we come out and then we post the heck out of it all over the place on social media, and people go, "Oh God, that again." And there's only so many groups that you can get involved in on. You can't spend your entire day on social media. I used to do that. I mean, 3-4 hours in a day, I could suddenly look up at the clock and go, what have I done all day other than just, mess around on social media? So, go ahead.
I separate social media from promotion. For me, so the social media, which for me is Facebook, that's just chatting to cool people and telling them I dig their music, and hopefully they think the same. It's entirely social. There's nothing on Facebook I would see as promotion. Adverts, completely separate, out of the way. I don't even advertise in the UK, US, or Canada, where a lot of the social contacts are, so people won't even see the promotional campaigns. To me, they're two different things. I don't think you can market music through Facebook.
I agree. They're great, but the thing is, play this playlist over and over and over and over again. Well, that's us helping each other play the playlist. What we want to do is get listeners, not just each other, listening to our playlists.
I think we might end up having another conversation about this, Peter, because there are groups who are dedicated to listening to music as opposed to just racking up streams, and I'm a member of a couple of those groups. And all that does is keep your algorithm at Spotify warmed up. Everything else you have to do on top of that. So the maybe the best group of all of them are the ones run by Sweetbeats Indie Music Discovery. And if you look at a group like Driven, of course, there's a number of people listening to my music there, but there's only 70 people there. And I have 2,500 monthly listeners, most of whom must be general population, because I don't know 2,500 people on Facebook who listen to playlists. So it has a knock-on effect. If the right people are listening to your music and you're listening to theirs, the algorithmic connections are made. And I know factually now, I know it's theorized, but I know it factually that Spotify and Meta are now taking genomic fingerprints of your music, not just beats per minute, but they know what other music sounds like yours. So you put typing a genre in a box doesn't matter. When I released Clarifications, I ran a campaign on a playlist of ours. We don't talk about all of our playlists on Facebook. There's only 2 we talk about, but we run more than that. There's one called Inspiring Indie Instrumentals. So I started it with my songs, and then I added some from Mark Halliwell, Cam Patterson, and Alistair. And there was a few people, David Sin, I knew they would be a good fit. Just left it out there running. Within days, Spotify is sending me messages in my account saying, why not add the following songs to your playlist, Inspiring Indie Instrumentals? All artists I'd never heard of. I listened to them, and they were like 8 out of 10 were a great match for the playlist. So they haven't got that from the song title. They've got that from taking a genomic fingerprint of the music and the style and saying, here's what's similar. It's a very clever system.
I'm not sure if you were joking when you said, stop sharing Spotify links that have a ? SI parameter. What is that?
Yeah, so there's a bait. Yeah, no, I wasn't joking about that. People have to stop doing that. The Spotify link to a song is made up of a URL that includes the song ID. And then there are some optional parameters. One of the parameters that gets added by default is the SI parameter. And that tells Spotify who shared the song. So when someone else on Facebook, say, goes to click through, Spotify says, oh, that's a song that Peter Lanciolotti shared. Now that Messenger for Spotify is being rolled out, that in many markets does not go to the song anymore. Instead, it goes to a Messenger conversation and tries to start a chat between the person who shared the playlist and the person who clicked through.
On Spotify?
I didn't know
there was a chat area on Spotify.
Oh, yeah, there's a new message. It launched in August. They're pushing it aggressively. It's in beta in some markets, full in other markets. And when it works well, you click on the latest conversation and it will take you to the song. Where it doesn't work well, it just crashes your Spotify. And people are clicking through the songs all over Facebook and they're unable to reach the song because the SI parameter is included and it now is an instruction to start a Messenger conversation. So you strip it out.
Oh.
You can leave the PI parameter in.
Okay.
Because if you want to choose an alternative picture, and there are other parameters like continue play and that kind of stuff, but the safest way is just to strip off everything from the question mark to the end of the URL that you're given. And that way you get a permanent song ID without Spotify tracking that you were the one who shared it.
Never heard of it. Learn something every day.
Yeah, it could be powerful if it allows you, if you change the name of your personal Spotify to be the same as your artist name, you might be able to have conversation between artist and listener. I think it could be useful for marketing eventually, but right now it's a piece of shit and it doesn't work. So strip the SI parameter off.
What's next for Whiskey Club right now?
I am working on 3 collaborations and 2 songs. I brought to my new music teacher. I have a new singing teacher, Krista Monica. I've only seen her twice. And I brought to her what I thought was going to be sent for distribution next week, a few days ago. And she listened to it and she disabused me of that fact and said, it's great. It's the best vocal I've ever done. But she said, let's go line by line and talk about phrasing. And she's given me a glimpse of how well I could sing if I spend the next 300 years at it. So I shelved that.
I heard what you did on the Dashing Skull Club song, and I thought you did really well on that.
Oh, thank you. I am working on a jazz instrumental that will be released on October the 17th. And that isn't fusion anymore. All of my songs are infused with jazz in some ways, but this one is just, okay, I'm not pretending it's anything other than pure jazz. So that would be out on October 17th. And then there are 3 collaborations in the pipeline, big ones too.
Fantastic. Well, I know that we both worked with Afira, which was interesting. I just love her. She's going to be on the show as well.
Christie's talent.
Oh, wow. I mean, orchestration-wise, I compare her to Hans Zimmer.
She's wonderful.
She doesn't think so, but I do. But anyway, she's actually one of the first that I started to write about when I did my newsletter a while back. But I'm going to continue to read yours. You're much more focused. I was a little all over the board with authors, musicians, small businesses. Well, John, I really appreciate you being here on Indie Tea with me, your host, Peter Lanciolotti. And I do hope I can have you back again in the future sometime, because I feel that you and I could talk for a long time.
I think we're only scratched the surface, Peter. We could get deep.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. Everybody, John, Whiskey Club, who will probably change his name again and maybe again, depending on what Denise Whiskers says.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Mm-hmm.